Summer is in full swing here on the farm, and we have a lot going on, which is why you're not seeing videos from me as often. It's just because I am very, very, very busy, but all good things, all things I love to be doing. I love summertime, spending more time outside with the family. We have new baby chicks, a couple broody mama hens. I'm still fitting in some sourdough baking here and there. I did manage to fit in a thrift haul that I will show you. We've had lots of heydays. We have a few new projects on the farm. And I included an accidental rant about why I do not hire babysitters. So stick around if you want to hear that. I also want to thank Wild Grain for sponsoring this video. They are a longtime sponsor. One of my kids' favorite things to get in the mail is our Wild Grain box. So I'll tell you about them in just a little bit. Here is a very shaky little garden update. We're just gonna fly through this because I was actually showing you our baby chicks that we got a few weeks ago. If you go back a couple of videos, you will see them when they were brand new, and I picked them up from the post office. These are Welsummers and Morans, two types of chickens that I don't have on the farm anymore. I guess all my Welsummers and Morans got old and died. So I needed some speckled dark eggs in my life. We are moving these chicks from the little brooder box into this chicken run, which we will rotate around the garden every day or so. I like getting baby chicks in the summertime because then they only need a heat lamp for a few weeks before they go outside. I have lunch ready, so I'm just going to pack up a picnic basket and head up into the woods to bring it to my husband. He's been brush hogging all day. He's got a lot of work ahead of him, so I made chicken salad, got some potato salad, some fruit. I don't want to serve a hot lunch on a hot day when he's working outside. Those are lessons I've learned over the years. I think in our early years, one summer, maybe like the first or second year we were together, he was putting up hay, and he came in for lunch and I had chili ready. You know, myself not growing up on a farm, not thinking of these things. And I quickly learned that that is just not the kind of meal somebody wants to come in and eat when they are trying to escape the heat. So chicken salad will be a much better choice than chili for today. We have had so much rain this year here in the Midwest. It has been very difficult for the guys to get to cutting hay and putting hay up because you need a few dry days to get that process done. It's just not really something that you can do in one day unless, I mean, I guess maybe if you had a really small area and it was really, really hot and dry out, maybe. But for us, our hay fields, it's a few day long process. So this just worked out really well that this is my husband's first year not working a full-time job off the farm during the day, because for all of his life, that is what he's done. He's worked full-time off the farm all day long, 40 plus hours a week, and then he comes home and he does whatever needs to be done around here in the evenings and on the weekends. Well, we were talking about it, and with all the rain we have had this year, I'm like, I don't know how you would have gotten it done. He would have been so stressed out. So that's just been a blessing that it worked out that way, that they can work on hay during the day through the week. They've had to make very good use of their time, especially with the new place that we bought, which, they're about 20 acres. And I would say about 16 of that is hayfield. So we've got 2 new hayfields that are going to be put into our rotation and need to be cut. So just packing up my thrift. This is an old thrift shop picnic basket here. That's another thing that I like to find at thrift shops is picnic baskets, and I will use them either for that or for storing toys. They work well for so many things. So packing up here to bring lunch up to the woods where my husband was working, and I've got everything I need here for a nice cool lunch, not chili. Even if you have not jumped on the sourdough train, odds are you know about sourdough. We all know about sourdough now, how it is so much healthier to have your breads and pastries and baked goods long ferment and break down the gluten. I could go on and on and on. But when I talk to people about sourdough who have yet to jump on the train, they almost always say that their biggest hesitation is finding the time for long fermentation, and I totally get that. That is why I love Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription service for sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and fresh pastas. All things that I love to make and bake from scratch, but in some seasons of life, I'm really busy and it just doesn't happen. So what happens is we then end up not eating those things. But with Wild Grain, I can have quick options in my freezer ready to go at all times. Wild Grain partners with small bakers and artisanal pastry and pasta makers across the country to bring you the highest quality products shipped straight to your door. There is absolutely no prep work with Wild Grain, so everything is baked from frozen, ready in less than 25 minutes. When you get your Wild Grain box, be sure to put everything in the freezer right away. Don't let it sit out, don't wait, don't put it in the fridge. This is not something that you want to let thaw out before you bake. It goes straight from the freezer into your oven and then onto your table. When you long ferment with sourdough, your bread will have a significantly lower amount of gluten. But if you want to steer clear of gluten altogether, Wild Grain does have gluten-free options as well. So you can customize your box to include whatever you want. One of our favorite things from Wild Grain is the croissants. They are so good, so light and airy and fluffy. And you know, I can make croissants, but they're very labor intensive. It's not easy like an artisan loaf that you could just throw the dough together and let it rise and go from there. It takes quite a bit of work, so it's not something that I make a lot. So more often than not, I let Wild Grain do the work for me when it comes to croissants. When you use my code Hopewell or click my link, wildgrain.com/Hopewell, that will be in the description, you'll get $30 off your first box from Wild Grain and free croissants for life. So I will put all the details, my code Hopewell, in the description below the video. Just tap the more button and check them out. We will get to the babysitter rants eventually in this video, but speaking of rants, you know, if I'm going to get myself in trouble online, it's going to be with one of my rants, and I'm not saying they're all justified. I've put my foot in my mouth many times, but the context where I get myself in trouble the most is when somebody who lives locally to me and knows me in person watches a video or something that I have posted about a societal issue and they think it's about them. You guys, this happens to me all the time, and I understand why. It's because what I do online is not normal. Like, it's really not to share things with a massive platform. You know, just broadcasting things in general over this many people is very new in the, you know, over the course of history. But anyway, most people still just use social media as sort of a way to keep up with friends and family. So maybe they post a cute picture of their child at their birthday or something, or for a holiday, and I think that's really sweet, and that's awesome. That's how a lot of people use it. But people don't always realize that's not how I use my social media. I, you know, do share some personal things, but mostly I comment, especially over on Instagram or on other platforms, I comment on societal issues. And when I do that, I'm never talking about a specific person. I never have anybody specific in mind, but I get why people don't understand that. And my most recent rant was about pesticides, herbicides, and big ag, which you can see we're out in the middle of a field here in this video. And, you know, we use those products on our farm currently. It's something that we want to get away from, but my rant got me in trouble because people thought I was talking about them when I was actually talking about us. This stall is full of deep bedding from over the winter. This is where the dairy cows slept and spent a lot of time over winter, so we're going to clean it out. We layered a ton of straw in here with their manure, and so it's kind of been, you know, semi-composting in here, but we're actually going to get it into a compost pile and start the process of turning it so that it can fully heat up in compost and break everything down, break down any weed seed so that by next, maybe, well, let's see, it is June, maybe by late fall, but more likely early spring, I will be able to use this compost in my garden. And so I just want to make a rule that if somebody lives in a 40-mile radius of me, they can't watch my videos. They can't follow me on social media. I'm just kidding. Kind of. No, but it's something that's hard for me because I want people to understand that I don't just gossip online about specific people. That is just not what I do. I know that type of thing exists. There are like gossip channels and all that. That's just not what I do. Especially, I don't like gossip about a person who nobody would even know. Occasionally, I might do like a response to a statement by a public figure, public response for a public statement, but I just don't do that. And I don't care what people think about me. I really don't. I passed that like a long time ago, but I do care about hurting people in my community by making comments and having them misconstrued, to where they think I'm talking about them. That does hurt me because, believe it or not, I know it's hard to believe, I do have friends. There are people that still talk to us, even though I do this weird YouTube thing. And I value those friendships and relationships. So anyway, now let's get on to talking about what we're actually doing in this video, and that is making a massive compost pile, which I mentioned earlier when I was standing inside of the barn. I'm very excited about this. We have been purchasing compost for years now because, like I said, when John was working during the day off the farm, we were very limited on what we had the time for around here, and making compost, even though it might seem silly, it might sound silly, like, oh, it's really no big deal, just pile up this manure in a pile. But you guys, I'm just telling you, when you're so stretched thin, it's just one more thing, So this is the first year we've had time for it. So excited to not have to buy garbage-infested compost from the local garden centers, because I totally don't trust them when they say that it's all organic. I have found pieces of trash in there, pieces of glass. And if there's trash and glass in there, I wonder what else is in there. What else is in there? I don't know, but anyway, moving along. So, still using my grain mill. I have had my grain mill for, I think we're coming up on almost a year, and I use it for everything. I mill almost all of my own flour. I said almost because I've got to tell you guys something that I really just couldn't get used to. I mean, I got used to it. It was fine. Is artisan loaves made with 100% freshly milled flour that has not been sifted. They're so dense, and I really missed the art of baking a good, nice and fluffy artisan loaf with a really pretty crumb. And then, by the way, all of my sourdough resources are on my blog. I've been making sourdough since 2017, before it was cool. So I've got posts on how to start a sourdough starter with like frequently asked questions, all the information you could want. I've got videos on it. I've got a ton of sourdough recipes, a beginner's recipe for making sourdough artisan bread, which you'll see here in a second. So just go to hopewellheightsblog.com and you'll find all of that under the sourdough tab. But anyway, I missed getting a really nice fluffy loaf since I've been using all like freshly milled flour. So what I've been doing is I've just been adding in maybe like a third sifted flour. So this loaf here, it was freshly milled, 2/3 of it, and then 1/3 of it was sifted flour, and that made all the difference. This set of mugs is $6.99, and there are, I've already got some in my cart here, 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9 mugs. So I'm gonna grab these for the cottage 10. Actually, I think they're 10. So I'll grab these for the cottage. Got a cute little basket there in the cart, $10. Also looking for baskets today for toys up at the cottage. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I am home from the thrift shop. I threw a few chickens in the oven to roast before we left. I have some broccoli, frozen broccoli, going on the stove, and I've got some croissants that I will throw, wild grain croissants I'm going to throw in the oven, and that's it. I'm keeping it simple for lunch. Keeping it simple with a lot of my meals lately because I'm not feeling good.
I can't remember if I told you guys on here on YouTube, but I know I said it on Instagram. I actually had a head injury. It's been a little over a week ago now. Just kind of a weird accident that happened when we were at the creek, and a boulder was thrown onto my head. That, if that sounds really intense, it was really intense. There was a lot of blood. It was really bad. I have a concussion. I'm not as quick on my feet right now. I'm a little nauseous here and there, and I can't think very well. I can't find my words as well. It's just like all the typical things that come with a concussion. I'm trying to rest, but you guys know how that is with kids. Like, I don't have babysitters. And maybe some of that is my fault because I don't trust people, but I don't think I'll regret that when they're older, because we don't live in high trust society anymore. Now, look, I was just going to get on here and talk about being home and what I'm having for lunch. Now I'm talking about a high trust, low trust society, but I'm going to finish that thought. I just saw a headline yesterday that a teacher, I live in Missouri, a teacher from a couple hours where I live in Missouri, who, a woman, appears to be maybe in her 30s, looks like a normal lady, was just arrested for having videos of things on her phone. I'm not going to say what things because it's so disturbing. I just don't even want to think about that. But she admitted to this. Okay? You look at a picture of this lady, she looks like she's a kindergarten teacher. So I don't trust people. I just don't. I mean, I have friends and family that I trust, but they're busy. Like, my friends and family, they're like me. They got 5 million kids and a farm. They're doing their own thing. So it's like we'd be like the blind leading the blind if we tried to help each other. So I don't do babysitters, and now you know why. Anyway, it's lunchtime. Then I'll show you my thrift haul.
Let's see, what else have I gotten myself in trouble over lately? Well, probably my commentary on World War III over on Instagram, commenting on Israel and Zionism and dispensationalism and all that jazz. That's one of my favorite topics, and it's in my opinion, needs to be at the forefront of our discussion in American politics today, which, sorry, if you're a lady and you're just here for the homemaking and now you're like, why is she talking about politics? Well, here's why. It's because I homeschool and I teach my kids these things. Like, I kind of have to stay up with current events to teach them and offer a good, biblical Christian perspective. But if you want to see my information on that, go check it out. It is on Instagram.
My sourdough beignet dough is proofed and ready to roll out and cut, shape, and then fry. So if you don't know what beignets are, they are like a New Orleans delicacy. When you go to New Orleans, this is just something that you have to do. You have to go to Café du Monde and get beignets. I think that's all they serve there, maybe coffee too. It's been like 14 years. Oh my goodness, it's been so long since I've been to New Orleans. But I'll never forget the beignets. And this is the first time that I'm making them with freshly milled flour, so we're going to see how this goes. Sourdough beignets are delicious. You get a little bit of that sourdough tang, but I'm just not sure what to expect with the freshly milled flour because things can be a little more dense, but we're just going to give it a go and see what happens.
This recipe is also on the blog, so just go to Hopewell Heights blog and type in beignets or sourdough beignets. It is one of my recent recipes. It has been a really long time since my husband and I have gone on a vacation by ourselves because of earlier rant on the babysitter thing. And also, once you have, I guess, I don't know, for us it was like once you have 3 kids, then it's just a lot to ask anybody to keep them for more than a couple of hours to go anywhere. And so we just don't do it. When we go places, we just take our kids. And we actually really like spending time with our kids. Not that people don't. I hope a lot of people like spending time with their kids. But we love spending time with our kids. They're really fun. They're funny. As a family, you're always going to have times where maybe people get on each other's nerves or whatever, but something I've been thinking about is just like, raising kids that you want to spend time with. It really does break my heart. Occasionally you'll hear of people say that they don't like being around their kids, and I usually hear this in the context of like their adult children. So I'll hear somebody say, oh, well, they're 18 now and good riddance, basically. I put my time in and I just don't you know, I'm just not into that anymore. And I'm like, excuse me? By that, do you mean your child? Like, you're not into your child anymore? You don't want to hang out with them?
These are so good, and they puffed up perfectly. So this is freshly milled flour. I used hard white wheat, a little bit of a higher gluten content, so I could hopefully get a good rise on my dough, and they're sourdough. So sourdough, freshly milled beignets. So nice and pillowy and soft and not sour. They're sweet.
Anyway, that's crazy to me. Like, people who don't want to hang out with their kids. We love hanging out with our kids. And, you know, I want to say, if you don't like hanging out with your kids, you know, that's kind of a you issue. You raised them. I have got a thrift haul to show you before I take everything up to the cottage. But first, I'll show you something else. We have our second broody hen of the year, and she hatched 8 cute little baby chicks. So I'm gonna see if she'll let me get close enough to show you. They're under this bush beside the outhouse. That's where they're hanging out. There they are. Hi, Mama. I'm not gonna hurt you. So my intentions were to show you guys the thrift haul earlier in the video, but as you gathered by, you know, the fact that I'm in 59 million different outfits throughout the video, this was filmed over the course of an entire week, and I just didn't get to it because we have so much going on. Not to mention, it is ball season, our boys play baseball, and we've had ball games every night.
Total for the day was like 85 bucks, not pictured. A few big bags of toys. I found some My Little Ponies, some Trolls, just some random toys to keep up at the cottage. And I probably paid like $3 for all of them because the thrift shop had dollar bin day. So they just had big bags of toys for $1. And these toys are in great shape. And kids don't know, they don't care if toys are used, at least my kids. Whether we have new toys or used toys, one thing I can promise is that they're going to break in a few months, or the kids are going to get tired of playing with them. So I just don't keep a lot of toys to begin with. However, we do have company sometimes, so I like to have toys for other people's kids because, you know, it's always more fun to play with toys at other people's house. Like when I take my kids to other people's house, they really like to play with their toys, even though they don't really like to play with toys here. They would rather like beat each other up or play outside, play around the farm, do other things. All right, first up we have a runner. This rug needs some TLC. It needs to be cleaned, but it was $6.99. So I'm going to put this in one of the bathrooms, I believe, up at the cottage. Next, I have a couple little accent pillows for the master bedroom up there. These were $3.99 a piece. I guess it was $3.99 a piece, but they're in great shape. I got 3 baskets today, so I say this all the time, but it's true. I never pass up a good basket. I just use them for everything. I keep them in my car. I use them for our dirty clothes, for taking clothes up to the clothesline, for toys, just for everything. This basket was $6.99. When I'm looking for baskets, I don't really care if it's a name brand, but you can find a lot of name brand baskets thrifted because, you know, there was a time when people collected baskets and had basket parties. I don't think that that is as popular anymore. And so a lot of people are left with maybe their mom or grandmother's basket collection, and yeah, they're just not in style anymore for those people, but they are for me. So you can get baskets for cheap. Yeah, $6.99 for this one. Let's see. This is a big basket, very solid. That's another thing. I just want them to be solid. I don't care if they're name brand. This thing is solid. It's huge, and it was $16. It's a little pricey for the thrift shop, but it's big, it's solid, and I actually needed a new basket in my closet for my dirty clothes. Okay, what do we have next? Ooh, that's pretty. A cake plate. So I have a few cake plates that are on stands, like a pedestal stand. I don't have any flat ones, so I thought this was very pretty. This was $8.99. This is something that I would never buy new. That is a cake plate, because you can find so many, at least around here, the thrift shops. You know, I just feel like people don't maybe they don't host as much anymore in their homes. So, and they don't make like big meals and have celebrations to where they're getting out fancier dishes and displaying their food. Yeah, I don't think people do that as much anymore. So it's the same story with the baskets. People inherit these things from their mom or their grandma, and they have no use for them. So one man's trash is another lady's treasure. All right, I got 10 of these. These mugs, really pretty yellow color. I don't have anything yellow up at the cottage yet, but now I do. It's going to be eclectic. That's what my style usually is. It's what I can find at the thrift shop. So the brand is Food Network. They look brand new, barely used, and there are 10 of them. You just can't beat it. You know, I know. I guess I sympathize with young people starting out these days. Everything's so expensive. You got inflation through the roof. I get it. It's like hard to get a house or whatever. But, you know, a lot of it I think is self-induced, not having money, right? Because you can pick up stuff for so cheap or like next to nothing if you use Facebook Marketplace, if you hit up garage sales, if you go thrifting. I think it does vary depending on where you live. But, you know, that's another thing too. Not that I'm one to advocate like moving away from family, but if you're living in a really expensive area where cost of living is really high and you don't have a lot of family ties that are keeping you there, then yeah, move. Because there are places in the country where it's still very affordable to live and find property, find a house, and yeah, cost of living is just a lot lower in the Midwest, especially in the flyover states. All right, this basket was $9.99. Very cute basket. I don't know the brand, no brand here, but very solid. So those are my 3 baskets. I think my last item of the day, this set of bowls. These stoneware bowls are so heavy. These are solid. And there's no brand, but it's a set of 3, and they look new or barely used. So this was $14.99. I usually don't pay that much for bowls or you know, cookware kitchen items, but these are so heavy. Solid stoneware, a set of 3 matching bowls. It was worth it. When I see really good vintage stoneware bowls, I don't pass them up because I will use them for all of my baking, and especially with sourdough. I've always got something rising or proofing on the counter. I know they'll be put to use, and the only thing is I don't know if I'm gonna keep them down here in the big house or if I'm gonna take them up to the cottage. I actually think I might keep them down here because I do my sourdough baking down here, and that's what I think I will use these for most often. That's it for today's thrift haul. Just little by little, we're going to make this cottage a home, collect all the little trinkets that I want and need up there as I find them. I will not be buying anything new.
Things are coming right along up at the cottage. You know, I haven't done a lot since the last video where I showed you guys the initial huge thrift hauls that I did just so that we had furniture in the kitchen and living room and could utilize the space. I haven't really done much since then, and that's probably what it's going to be. I'm just going to get to it little by little, especially during the summer when it's super busy. I don't hardly even go into town, let alone have much time to go to the thrift shops. Now, one thing that I had really planned and hoped to get out by the end of August was my first podcast episode, but I don't think it's going to happen. It might be July because of the head injury that I mentioned. I'm not kidding you guys. It was serious and it was really scary. As I'm doing this voiceover, it is a week later than when I filmed that little update earlier in this video, and I'm feeling a lot better. My mom has a really high quality big red light panel she let me use, and I made sure to sleep a lot for like a week straight, and I have recovered. I think I'm 100% better, but I did accidentally make a very not nice comment to a family who brought a pit bull to a baseball game last night when the pit bull like growled at my kid. So maybe I'm not better. Maybe I have like some permanent brain damage and Tourette's. I don't know. We'll see. But the podcast will be out hopefully in July because I had a couple weeks setback. All right, well, that is it for this week's video. I think I've covered all of my updates, all of my little rants, everything new going on the farm. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to check out the offer Wild Grain has for my subscribers, and I'll see you all next week.